All right, let's begin this meeting of the Clarksburg Select Board on Wednesday, December 14th at 11 a.m. I'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. At this point, I would like to open the tax classification hearing to vote on either a uniform or split tax rate. And like we were saying, we always go with uniform because it's really
We
not
don't
worth-
have enough commercial or industrial properties in town. So just for consumption, we have $145,050,000 in residential, multifamily, and land assessed value. For commercial industrial, we have $2,248,000. So, you know, there are other communities who have a split tax rate, and for some of them it might make sense. As an example, you know, Florida has the windmills, the Bear Swamp, and the hydro. And they're never going to move to China or Mexico or wherever. So they kind of have a captive audience, and then they use that to subsidize the residential tax rate. You know, you'd have to go into multiples of 50 or 60 times to get
Oh, yeah.
the commercial to balance out with the residential to make any meaningful difference. And, you know, some of them are rather substantial. You know, also, the more you tax something, the less you get of it. And so, consistent with the history of Clarksburg, as interim assessor, it is my recommendation that we have continue a uniform tax classification and a tax rate across all areas of residential, commercial, and industrial.
All right, if there's no discussion, I'd like to make a motion to vote once again for the uniform tax rate.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. At this point, we'll close that classification hearing. Do we have minutes, Michelle?
No, I have like 2 paragraphs.
Okay,
It's close.
no problem. All right, let's go right up to, Bob, you got an update on the MVP?
Yes, we're having a meeting tonight, and Courtney, who works for the Berkshire Regional Planning, she's going to put on a PowerPoint presentation and explain all this MVP program, which is for climate change and for the town field. We have 3 projects we're going to discuss. Boston Fish Market is going to cater the dinner. 35 people have signed up, so that is a very good turnout. She said she's been the times where only 10 people show up. So it shows that the community has interest in it, which is very good for getting the grant. She's going to do a PowerPoint presentation to discuss the general overview. I'm going to do a 10-minute presentation on a crossroad area, which includes Townfield. Carl's going to do a 10-minute presentation on the Bridgeville Water District. And then Jim Branson's going to do a 10-minute presentation on the Hoosick River Dam removal in the Carson Avenue area. And then with that, people will be given surveys, which are now online. So the average person in Clarksburg can do a survey to show any interest. There'll be a question and answer period. So that's all going on tonight, this evening. So this is a big step going toward the grant. This is part of a mandatory thing we have to do.
That's at 6 p.m., right?
Yeah.
Excellent. Looking forward to learning more about it.
Yeah. It's interesting stuff. Meeting with legislators.
Yeah, I just, I wasn't sure exactly how I want to do this. I know we talked about it last time. There's 3 issues in town that I think we really need to get our representatives involved in, and that is the Crossroad Bridge, the school roof, and there was one other thing that I dropped off my mind now, but I wasn't sure if we wanted to do that.
The DOT bridge?
Yes, DOT, yeah, maybe it was the naming of the bridge also was included in that for the Billy Evans Memorial Bridge. But anyway, I wasn't sure. I think it's important that the first thing that's so important is the roof money, because there was $500,000 that Adam Hines put in the capital bond fund for our roof, and it was on the list for 5 years. This is the last year. And I was told by Adam Hines early on that usually what's on the last year, they'll look at closely because it's going to fall off the list. And I think we have to have one last push to try to get that money. I think I sent you all at one time all the things that the school have done, that the town has done. And I feel now that this last part with the lift going in, becoming accessible to everybody, I think we fulfilled our
We made a valiant effort.
we made a valiant effort for them to release the money. So I would like to have that, because I don't want to wait too long, because I'm afraid that we're going to lose that money.
What I'd like to do, if perchance possible, is I'd like to maybe draft up a letter, and then we could have it as a template where people could edit it online and then print it and mail it, and we'd have the addresses. And what I'm thinking is having all of the Berkshire County representatives, so even including Tricia Farley Bouvier, Smitty Pignatelli, John Barrett. We certainly can, and then obviously Paul Mark, who is now going to be our new senator. So then that can actually come from the populace, and we could have maybe a couple of iterations of that, and we can work toward that. In that same vein, regarding the school roof, and it just came across my desk this morning, that under the BIL, the bipartisan infrastructure legislation, that there's money for energy efficiency projects at K through 12 schools. And so what I would like to explore is, and I probably would think that we would want to chat with the school committee on the 5th about this, to make sure that they're on board with it. And the bottom line is, hypothetically, if we were to put a solar array for the energy improvement, we would need a new roof underneath it before we would want to do that. And so if we could wrap this all into one energy project for the BIL, then that might kill two birds with one stone.
It's a good idea.
So I'm looking at that right now.
Okay.
So if that can come into play, then we're kind of in a better spot.
Okay.
Because if we get the grant, then we will get a new roof, and also a significant energy reduction by virtue of the fact of having a solar array on the roof. Generally, solar arrays have a shelf life of about 20 years, as do roofs, so it would be perfect timing. In addition to what we're working on with the legislators, I just give you a heads up on that.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's all good, but even, and there's no hurry on this, I still think that we've been here long enough now, where it would be nice to have a conversation with either Paul Mark and John Barrett, to let them know our issues in town, and let them know that we want to go through them for everything too, because sometimes I think if the lack of communication, it just, you know, it just might show that we're at odds, or you know, we don't like each other, or this and that. I find that communication's a really important thing, and I also think that if I was rep, I would want to meet with the towns and know what their needs are, and get to meet the people so they know who the people are. So again, I would still love to have an opportunity to have a meeting with them, and like I say, it doesn't have, it can be obviously after the holidays and things, but I think it's important for our needs at Clarksburg, and Dan, and Jeff, I don't know if you agree or not, but that's just my take on it.
You mean like a person-to-person?
Yeah, I'm hearing, and we go over the main issues that we need help with, and even strap grants, you know, for the rest of Middle Road. I mean, they have a big opinion and can really get some things done.
On your, the One Stop for Growth, which is MassWorks.
Yep.
And we can put expressions of interest for more grants, and
Yep.
that just opened today.
Oh, okay, and there's like 5 categories.
If you get them in, I think it's before I want to say a January deadline, but it could be February. And I have a couple of ideas, finishing Middle Road. And what they do, just so everybody is aware, is that the One Stop for Growth is that you send all your projects, or you can do 2, but if you do it by a certain time, you can do 5. And then the state reviews them and then okay, this one is good for the Department of Ecological Restoration, would be the best funding source for that. DCR might be the one for that. DOT might be the one for that. And so they evaluate each request. So we did a DER grant last year, which we did not get, for $400,000 for the culvert on Upper West Road. Now, talking with Kyle yesterday, the culvert on Middle Road could be quite costly, so I think that I'd like to maybe tuck that in there too.
Yeah.
Second segment of Middle Road, and I've got a call into Mass DOT already. I've got to get a call back. And I'm sure there's other projects that we can figure out, but we've got 2 culverts on the road, so there's 3 projects that I can think of right off the top of my head. We're going to be pretty busy, clearly.
No, it's good. In Pittsfield, when we went down to accept the money for Middle Road, Pittsfield did this last year, and they got 3 or 4 out of the 5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
so I mean,
They were the highest funded in the county, and the most numerous grants also.
yeah. And that's it. And our reps are here. They will help us out, and when we got to have a good rapport with them. And like I say, I feel that there's we don't, and then just because we don't meet with them, and I think that once a year or something would be nice to go over everything we need, because they'll push and help us get these things. So
I'm in agreement with you
definitely.
on that.
And we might also, well, we can chat about it on the next item there, because we could tie that into the 225.
Yeah, and there could be, like, it'd be up to them if they want to come to a select board meeting and have or if they wanted the chairman and you meet with them in a coffee shop or something. I mean, there's different ways to talk to these people, but I just think it's important to have something going on.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to the 225th anniversary, are you thinking that might be a good time to invite these legislators?
I think it's going to be a good opportunity to tie a lot of things together. I mean, obviously, our 225th is going to be on March 2nd, which, looking out the window, I don't see we're going to have a picnic in March, but if we plan the 225th anniversary for the town and tie that with the MVP effort, because they want to also have a function at Town Field, at the Peter Cook Memorial Field. And so there's going to be displays and some interactive displays. In
Is it going to be
education.
in March, Carl?
Oh, hell
No.
no, I was saying, no, we can't. No, we have to be in
Okay, yeah, all
the
right.
summertime type of a thing. And, being political in nature, I'm sure that the representatives, as well as our senator, would benefit from pressing the flesh, if you will, and hearing from the residents as to the things that we would need for our town. So I think that we can tie, in addition to the other efforts, the legislators, the 225th anniversary celebration, and the MVP projects, all into one event. And depending upon how that shakes out, we might want to, consider running shuttles or something like that, because I know that parking is going to be incredibly tight.
Yeah, right, we'll be parking up at the school. But, and I'm all for that. I think that they should be there, or they would want to come to something like that. But because of the Crossroad Bridge, trying to get that pushed up, and I
Yeah.
think that's important, and because of the school roof is going to run out by June, the money, I really, in my opinion, I'd like to talk to them soon. I mean, before
I-
spring.
Yeah, I'm just thinking June's pretty far. I mean, we're talking about
Right.
6-7 months
Yeah.
out. I mean, I think maybe try to get something on the schedule for mid to late January.
Yeah.
Just try to
Like
set,
a
see,
meeting
feel out
with-
their schedules, and
I think that's really important.
I agree with you. Let's not put it off too long.
Yeah, that's not an event you can really discuss
Right.
anything, that's more of a, meet and greet type event, rather than really get down to,
And I do think it'd be great if they were there for that also.
no, absolutely.
And,
That's not the time to discuss business, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree with- I agree
Right,
with you.
we need a business meeting with them that let us know who we are and what we need. They want to know, I'm sure, I know I would if I was a rep.
All right, so, anything else to add about the anniversary committee?
Yes,
Who is on that?
That's where we need, that's the next step.
and to my surprise, I just found out this morning, I was talking to Susan Brandon, who's on the Historic Commission. I was corrected to think that was Historic Committee. It's not. The Historic Commission is a commission that helps preserve buildings, documents, and everything. They are not a historic committee, so they are not in charge of like this 225th anniversary. She said she would help out in any way, but they are not taking the lead, which last month I thought that the historic committee would just need us to help them out. She feels, and then the Historic Commission feels, that the town needs to celebrate this. It's up to us as a select board to, what are we going to do for the 225th? I do have an idea that I can run quickly, thinking this morning about it, is that because it is going to be tied in with the 200, or with the MVP program, and again, this is just off the top of my head, I was thinking that if we had like a booth set up per se, so like we have one for the fire department, where they can, give a talk on what they're doing and try to even get more volunteers, it would be good for them, but they could also do a little bit on the history of the fire department there. They would know that. VFW could have something there. They're always looking for members. I know their members are dwindling, and they could have a booth and again, go on what they've gone through and do the history of it. The school, I know, have something. I already talked to Rizzelli, Emily Rizzelli, about in MVP, that they may have something where the kids can be involved and they can do the history of the school. And I'm thinking that might be the way to go. So
Yeah.
each individual thing will have a booth, they'll take care of their own thing, so it's not all on us. We're just going to be the coordinators.
And you potentially could have the fire department as well as the DPW touch a truck with the kids.
Yep,
Yeah, that's great. Great idea.
The little ones really do like that.
yep,
And, the pavilion,
The chief there with the
Is-
cruisers and.
yep.
the pavilion has come a long, long way. And so let's use it.
Yep. So I think if we could get the Historic Commission, they maybe just have their own booth about the history of Clarksburg,
Yeah.
something. So if each person took a piece of it, I think we could take a huge project and spread it out, so it's little projects for each department, and I think it would be very good and very
That's a great
entertaining.
idea.
What we could do is we could put some notices and maybe put together a steering committee for the 225, which would be inclusive of the MVP, as well as inviting legislators and things of that nature. But I think that we should probably have a committee to have, some of the work shared in organizing such an event. So if
Maybe one person from each of the booths that we're talking about.
yeah, so
And we should probably have one for ourselves, to get to know,
Yep.
your
I agree.
town.
who's up for election?
I'm the only one, right? Well, this is June, we'll be past that.
That's true, yeah.
So, yeah, so what I could do is we could put a notice on the website and solicit volunteers to work for, say, the next 6 months. So it's not an unending commitment, if you will.
Right.
So, maybe that would actually draw some more people who generally don't do things like that because of the time commitment, and go from there.
Yep, and if a member of the select board needs me, I mean, I'd be happy to be part of this, or go to the fire department, or go to these individual committees and ask too. So, I mean, I'd be willing to do our share on that. The thing that always worries me, and I'm one that always, I'm a worrywart, as my wife would say, is time is gonna go by fast. So I think by spring, boy, we really need to have this committee and have something in the works.
Yeah.
So, all right, thanks.
Okay, letters to the DOT regarding, this is to move up the Crossroad Bridge. What's the suggestion? Just
The
write the same
suggestion
thing?
was, from Congressman Neal's office that they do the money part of it, that it's actually Massachusetts that decides what gets priority. And they're pretty strict by going by just deficiency. But I feel personally, because this is in the center of town, and it affects a lot of people, that deficiency shouldn't be the only factor. That, I mean, my gosh, you got the fire department, police department on one side, you got the school and senior center on the other side, and that bridge is important. Plus, it's the only route to get to Vermont if Route 8, there were a couple years ago, there was a tree that fell over the road, and they had to be detoured up
right.
there. Buses are going over that, the new fire truck's going over there. But anyway, to get back to the letter writing, Congressman Neal said that if you had like the fire chief, or him write a letter to Mass DOT separately, saying what his issues are, the police chief saying what his issues are, we write a letter saying what our issues are. If you have different letters from different people, rather than have a template letter, because those are good, because you get a lot of people signing them, but they all know, okay, can you sign this, and they would read it. You know what I mean?
I was thinking, it says, if you could cut and paste and, if we had a bunch of like paragraphs.
Yeah.
And then people could cut and paste it onto a document, and so that each one would be just a tad bit different.
But see, and that's what he's saying, so that it's more effective if they get a letter that's written by the fire chief, by different officials that are gonna say different things, like again, Chip will put on, or the fire department put on their issues. The town DPW, which we can help with, they have certain issues with the plowing or whatever. The school might be with the school buses and the emergency vehicles. That is gonna be more effective, so that's what that's all about, and I don't know, Carl, if that's something you can, mention to the heads of the departments and see if they would write a letter and we could help them or whatever, but I think that'd be more effective going the DOT individually and just saying, hey, we really feel that this needs to be pushed up the list. We can't wait another 5 years to have that bridge.
Yeah, nobody seems to be getting the urgency of this, it's just...
Well, and the other thing you have to keep in mind is that, once the new fire truck comes in, is that bridge, because it's not like fine wine, it doesn't get better with age. And the structural integrity has decreased over the last couple of years, and our bridge reports do show that. And that's how we got to the TIP program, Transportation Improvement Program. But, that's a good thing.
5 years out.
Well, that's a minimum of 5 years out, but there's been some projects. Skyline Highway in Hinsdale,
Skyline Trail.
been on there 20 years.
Yep.
So, they tell you one thing and you might not be quite high enough on their
Well,
list or something else.
again, it all goes by deficiency, so they felt that, well, that one's hanging in there, because there's bridges all over the state
Yeah.
that are deficient. But there was one in Hawley that they did a few years ago.
Bridge to Nowhere.
We called it the Bridge of Nowhere. There was one condemned house on the other side of this, but the bridge was deficient, so it was like next to be done. And the Hawley, the select board wrote and said, please don't do that bridge. We have 3 other bridges in town that need better attention. And the state said, no, this is the next one on the list. And they spent like $2 million doing this Bridge of Nowhere. And like I said, because, and I hate to say it, they don't common sense, but it's that their criteria is strictly deficiency. And to me, that's wrong. And that's one thing I like to talk to our representatives about. That needs to be changed. There needs to be other factors involved. And like I say, I think Crossroad Bridges is one of them. That, no, there's a need. So anyway, that's,
I will work on that.
yeah, thank you.
All right. Oh, so Carl, you went down to the pavilion,
I did.
and
The snow's pretty deep down there. The bill that we had gotten was not for the lighting. So the lighting has not been done. I have talked with Steve on that. And so I'm also going to include the sensor wire for the roof for the senior center, because we got a warning notice, the thing flashing.
right, yeah.
That the sensor wire for the heat tapes, because the eaves for the senior center roof, they come out so far that if you have melting snow and it liquefies, and then it finds its way onto the eave and refreezes, we've been down this road
Yes,
before.
we have.
We had I think it was $108,000 casualty when we had an ice dam that basically flooded the senior center, so that's why we have the heat tape. So Bob and I met up there, looked it over, and so it's in an override mode right now, because obviously we're getting some snow, folks, for Christmas, and hopefully on the 26th it all melts.
Okay.
So I'll hit McLean up for both of those projects. As they're the ones who installed the system initially, and so they're more familiar with it.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I don't see,
we'll get the lights ready.
for the pavilion, we won't be using it again till the spring.
Yeah, and so, I mean, we have bigger things to take care of right now, but we
Yes.
will have that ready, and we'll get on that and make sure that we have it ready for the spring.
Just for the lights for the pavilion, is that something that McCann Electrical Program might be interested in doing?
I could approach, I could approach,
Just throwing it out there. Just,
Jim Brosnan.
they did such a great job on the other parts of
They
Northfield, tied in that they, fully did it. Just throwing it out there.
Do we have the, next up is the approval of the liquor and entertainment license for the Golden Eagle. Do we have that license?
do we have the licenses?
And we've been doing this for years for the Golden Eagles. It's never been an issue.
So all the fees have been paid. Okay, so everything has been paid. I think what we need is your signature, like, we need a vote first. And now, just to give you a little background, so we need the liquor license, then we need the entertainment license, and then because of blue laws, you need a Sunday entertainment license separate from the entertainment license. We have had no rowdiness, we've had no issues with the Golden Eagle, which is generally, the area of concern you would have in renewing.
Right.
And, it's been there, for 107, 110 years. I'm not saying it's always been, but we have no problem, we've received it. So if you guys vote, and it's going to be 3 votes, one for the liquor, one for entertainment, and then one for Sunday entertainment. And I see no reason not to approve. And then we can sign these.
Okay. Well, let's do that while we have it right here in front of us. I'd like to make a motion to approve the liquor license for FY '23 for the Golden Eagle Restaurant.
There, and there.
And I need a second on that.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
And now I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the entertainment license for the Golden Eagle Restaurant as well.
Second that?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And finally, motion to approve the entertainment license for Sunday entertainment for the Golden Eagle.
I'll just sign that with the other. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Yeah, I only signed the top
Yeah,
copy.
me
I'll
too.
need that back. Oh, I got that one. This one.
All right, while we're doing that, Carl, what's the update on the heat pumps? Or is there an update?
Frustration?
Been hearing that for a while.
So I sent him another email, and it's with Guardian. And it seems that they're saying that they're having supply chain issues, and then, and I was concerned about the power that we have and the number of 220 volt outlets. Then they came and they said that we were fine. Now they're saying that we need to, the story seems to be changing. So if we don't get some resolution fairly soon, and we have a grant where the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission is managing the green communities paperwork. So I'm going to have a chat probably after the beginning of the year with Tom Matusko from the Regional Planning Commission to pick his brain, because this has been going on now for solidly 7 months, solidly. And, Green Communities gave us a grant to insulate the buildings, to replace the lighting at the school. We've done both of those things. The only outstanding one before we can do another grant with Green Communities is that we have to complete this one. And the last remaining piece is to install heat pumps here at Town Hall. And that has not happened yet. So if that is something that is not going to be realized in a more timely fashion, then I would, I'm going to pick Tom's brain and maybe we find another vendor. It's getting to that point.
Do we have time to find another vendor?
We have all the time we want. It's just
Well, we
going
can't
to.
apply for another grant.
Well, that's it, exactly. I mean, we got our year-end reports in, so we're eligible to go for another grant. But you gotta finish what you bit off the first time before you can go for another type of a thing. So that's where we are, and that's the plan.
No, I would say reach out to them right away and just see if that is an option. And maybe we can find a local vendor close by that can get this done for us.
Well, here, it's not quite that simple. The reason that you go with Guardian is because they're a pre-approved vendor. But if you go with a non-pre-approved vendor, you're going to have to go out to bid independently of the program. So it's, my preference would be, is there another pre-approved vendor?
Gotcha.
And once we establish that, I will follow up with Tom sooner rather than later.
All right, Carl, this one I don't know what this is about. It's
Well,
tree
you know.
recycling. So
All
how are
right.
you
So-
proposing that?
I'm a commissioner on the Northern Berkshire Solid Waste Management District, and so in some discussion with Linda Cernick, who is the director, they were working on a Christmas tree recycling program, and where they would collect the trees from residents, free of decorations, free of garland, free of tinsel.
Free of charge?
No. I think the charge was proposed to be $5, and it was more to, because they're going to be chipped. So they got to be shipped, and then they got to be chewed up and naturally decompose. And I chatted with Linda, and I guess my concern is that if hypothetically we were to do that here in town, where would we do it? And it would have to almost be limited to one day. We don't have a lot, we're the only one who has no landfill, no transfer station at all. And so they have locked and fenced facilities. We do not. And so if we were to participate, the only place I can think of would be here at Town Hall, and my concern is then we would have people dumping them off and not paying after hours, which wouldn't really be terribly hard to do. So I reached out to Linda to see if this would be a similar mechanism to how we operate the bulky waste collections, the electronics collections, paint, and household hazardous, where you're a member community that, hypothetically, you can go to another member community and have that same benefit of the service. So she's going to get back to me. I guess initially, my thoughts is that it's probably not going to be a good fit if we have to host it ourselves.
Right.
Should the opportunity to share the services with another community become apparent, certainly we'll bring that up at our next meeting, which would be about the time that people are going to be looking to dispose of their trees.
So you're thinking maybe the landfill in North Adams would be more of a,
They're not a member community.
they're not a member community?
They are not.
Okay.
So that would be one community that would not happen with.
So where would we be going theoretically? Adams?
Adams, Williamstown, Lanesboro, Florida. Those are all member communities that are in fairly close jurisdiction. Cheshire also is a member, so I mean, depending upon where you want to go, there are points further south, but I don't know that would absolutely be necessary type of thing. So while it's on there, it's kind of more up in the air than settled.
Yeah, okay. So it doesn't really sound like it's going to go well for Clarksburg
I-
hosting it.
I suspect not.
Like, who would be in charge of collecting the $5? Would that be
Well, that's it.
us, or they're
Yeah.
sending someone to do it, or,
No, so we would be responsible for that too, and that's the other thing, is that the towns have a landfill attendant or, somebody taking care of that stuff, and so, we don't have that luxury, and so as much as I would like to do it, I don't think we're equipped to do it, but if we can get an alternative that at least is allowing that process to continue, that's what I would like to do.
All right. You going to keep us informed and...
Yes.
Okay, start of budget season.
Yay.
Off we go. So requests are going out, and we'll start this in...
We'll
January.
start, yeah, we'll start it in earnest, after the holidays. I'm going to be getting the budget requests out to the department heads, and then we'll start meeting probably late January, early February, because we got to, and we have to give the DPW and the fire department and the police department and everybody else, every other department, an opportunity to review their expenses, but also, plan for the future too.
And the Finance Committee, I know, I was talking to Jim Stakanis, I know he's not on it any longer,
Correct.
right? There is a Finance Committee, though?
Of one.
Of one?
There's only one person on there, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so Marilyn gave me a list of people that she thought might be a good fit, so
Yeah, 'cause they're-
I'll send them
They're
out.
always very informative, and they really dissect it, which is good.
So they go through the budgets first before it comes through for approval, is that how that process?
No,
It's gone different ways.
generally we meet jointly,
Yeah.
and that's pretty much how it's been.
With each department head. That's
Right.
how we did it before.
Yeah.
The finance committee, select board meets with, yeah.
Yeah, that's the best way. And who's on it?
Teresa Danette, Eric Danette's wife,
Okay.
and he just left the school committee.
Yeah. As far as you know, she's still active on the finance committee.
Haven't seen any resignation come across the desk, so I
Okay, well,
can only
good.
assume.
That's important that you have somebody for finance.
Yeah.
I can talk to her next time I see her, she's my neighbor, so
Oh, great.
check and see what, she's planning, staying on ready for the next cycle here.
Yeah, because the finance committee is very valuable for the town.
Do you guys want to have a meeting a day or two before Christmas? Or do you want to plan, instead of the fourth Wednesday, the Wednesday after Christmas instead? So that would fall kind of right in between Christmas and New Year's. I have no
No preference?
preference.
I don't have a preference. Either's good for me.
Is there anything pending? Because
There's really
there's
not, I mean.
there's a lot going on for the holiday season.
And that's why I was thinking that, or bag it all together. I don't know, and then maybe switch it up a little bit, and,
Well, we're gonna meet the 5th.
well, that's where I was going with this, is that since that's, on the 5th, and, we're gonna have to figure out, I would assume we would be meeting at the school.
Yep.
Yes.
So, I could follow up with John. Do we want to have a brief select board meeting before the joint meeting type of a thing? And I'm not quite clear if that's even necessary, but to tie up loose ends, get some warrants signed, minutes approved, minimally anyway.
In the past, what we did, we usually didn't meet for the holidays. We usually met the first or second Wednesday after the holidays, and we would come in individually and sign warrants
Yeah.
when need be.
Yeah, that's, I don't see a
Unless,
problem.
of course, something was,
Major league.
right. We haven't really run into that in the past. But again, it's up to everybody here.
Is this something we can play by ear in the next, week and a half, post if needed, if there, anything comes up for that Wednesday between Christmas and New Year's, and then,
So what is that, 27th or something, or 25th, 26th, 28th?
Christmas on
28th, I
Sunday, the
think.
25th.
Right, so
This
I
will be the
think
28th.
Wednesday's the 28th.
Well, and we could do that
Or play it by ear.
if there's anything that's urgent,
If there's anything urgent, we'll meet the 28th. If not, we'll meet the 5th. Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm
myself.
going with
with
that,
that.
yeah. I
Okay.
don't have anything going on that, I can't not attend, so.
All right, and
All right, so we'll set it for the 5th, pre-school committee meeting,
yeah.
and then.
And
the
if
next
you
one
want
will
to
be the
meet
11th,
here,
right?
and then
And then
travel
out
to the
there.
school, that probably would be neater, because all of anything that you need would be here.
I'd kind of feel more comfortable with that.
I do
I would
too.
too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we'll meet here, that school committee meeting's at 5, is that correct?
Right.
I believe so. So we would probably want to do something like 4, and that would give us time to.
You might want to do this a little earlier if we could.
Yeah.
3:30?
Sometimes, sometimes runs a little, let's do 3:30 to make sure. All right. Anything else not reasonably anticipated by the chair? I have one
Snowstorm.
reading to do, yes.
So, and this doesn't require a vote of the board, it is from the chair regarding tomorrow's weather.
Or Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, tomorrow's Thursday, okay. The town of Clarksburg has declared a snow and ice emergency due to the impending storm. The emergency declaration goes into effect Thursday, December 15th, 2022 at 9 p.m. and will last through Saturday, December 17th at noon. Residents and visitors are reminded that on-street parking is prohibited and violators will be subject to being towed at their own expense. It is also advised to refrain from going out on the roadways during the storm if not absolutely necessary. Please allow the DPW workers to do their job with as few impediments as possible. Be safe and have a happy holiday.
Happy holidays, folks.
Happy holidays.
Yep, happy holiday, Merry Christmas.
All right,
And happy Hanukkah, because it's Hanukkah.
that's right. All right, if there's nothing else, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the Selectmen's meeting on December 14th, 2022 at 11:45. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.